Hi, welcome back, everybody. As a veteran or a first responder, you've spent your time in service learning how to fill the gap. When you walk into a room, come onto a scene or an operational space, you don't have to ask for authority. You are the authority. You've been trained and conditioned for command and control. And for people outside of these careers, it might seem like an oversell, but our ability to take control of a situation can be what keeps people alive. Let's call it the tactical you. But there's another side of that coin. That same tactical you might also be an Achilles heel. Maybe it's with your family, or maybe it's when you're dealing with anybody outside of this job. The reality is the civilian world doesn't operate on our type of chain of command. It operates on more of a chain of influence. If you take that command and control energy into a corporate office or almost any civilian space, it won't be received as high standards. It'll more than likely be taken as aggression. And it's not that it doesn't make you able to do the job, but it can make the people around you start looking for the exit. This time it's about the tactical to diplomatic shift. This isn't about getting soft. It's about learning to de-escalate your current personality so that when you eventually take off the uniform, people actually want to work with you instead of just being afraid of or intimidated by you. It's about how your current default setting might be a threat to your future success and how you can start recalibrating that dial right now. But before we get into this further, let's take a quick break to recognize a sponsor of the podcast. As a first responder, control isn't optional. It's how you do your job. But when it comes to buying or refinancing a home, most lenders don't get your world. Police Mortgage does. They specialize in working with first responders, walking you through the process, breaking down your options, and helping you lock in competitive rates without the runaround. Take control of your financial future with people who have your back. Visit policemortgage.com or call 312-499-8878. Police Mortgage, for first responders who are second to none. Whether you like this or not, as a veteran or first responder, the same traits that have allowed you to excel are the same traits that can make you difficult to hire, or at a minimum, make you struggle in a civilian environment. Right now, your brain is wired for high speed, low drag efficiency. In many situations, you don't have time for a 20-minute meeting about feelings. There's an issue and it needs to be resolved. So because of that, you've honed a version of yourself that is blunt and decisive. But the reality is, you're most likely a tactical liability once you leave this world. In a civilian workspace, people likely won't follow you because you used to wear a uniform. They'll follow you if they trust you and they feel safe around you. Remember, when you bring that command and control energy into an environment, especially where lives aren't on the line, you aren't showing leadership. You're probably triggering everyone's fight or flight response. You'll literally be making the people around you feel psychologically unsafe. Now, you'll probably think that you're simply being clear. They're going to think you're being aggressive. You have to recognize that civilians aren't weak or lazy, even though it might feel like that sometimes. The issue will be more likely that you're using a sledgehammer to hang a picture on the wall. Now, I'm sure this will come as a surprise to many of you, but we're conditioned to believe that directness is almost like a form of kindness. But in the real world, your directness will more than likely be seen as a lack of self-regulation. And until you accept this, until you admit that your default is actually an interpersonal weakness, outside of this environment, you're going to keep hitting a wall. So, understanding this is the first step towards realizing that your greatest personal strength can also be your biggest personal hurdle. On the other hand, the problem with being a high performer in this environment means that you can get away with a lot more, and people will learn to deal with your personality as long as the mission is getting done. But be honest. No matter how direct, to the point, or blunt that we claim to be or that we like others to be with us, we've all worked with someone who's made you say, damn, you're an asshole. And not the good or endearing way. And here's the other thing. If that's you, there's already a bill being totaled up, and the cost is a lot higher than you think. This isn't just about people's feelings being hurt. It's about your future options drying up before you even have a chance to explore them. Right now, the immediate impact is an information vacuum. When you walk into a room of peers or subordinates with that I'm in charge attitude, you're effectively shutting down everyone in that room and their desire to help you. We all know this. If people are put off by your tone or intimidated by your directness, they'll stop telling you the truth, which is what you need to hear, or they'll possibly stop giving their best for you. They likely won't tell you when something is off the rails, or if something is heading off the rails, well, at least early enough so that you can make the best corrections. They're not going to tell you if they have a better idea, because they'd rather let you or the project struggle or even fail instead of dealing with your leadership style. So then you end up operating and making decisions based on bad or incomplete information because you've created an environment where it's safer to be quiet than to help you. And I know this might sting, but hold up that mirror. Are you already experiencing this? There's something else you need to be thinking about. It's about your reputation and your long-term identity that's going to follow you away from these careers. In the civilian world, being labeled as someone who's great at execution, but bad for culture, might be a death sentence for your career growth. It means you'll probably be the one they call to fix the mess, but you likely won't be at the management table where the decisions are made, because the leadership won't trust you to handle people. You're going to be pigeonholed into a doer role. You'll be the one who's too valuable where you're at to be promoted, which is really just code for we can't trust you with any more authority. And then what happens? You feel stuck or you get passed over. That becomes your bitterness. So, if you don't change your settings now, you're going to spend your post-transition life blaming others for your lack of success. You're going to be the one saying the civilian world is too soft or that they don't appreciate real leaders, when the truth is actually much harder to admit. You simply refuse to evolve. You'll end up frustrated and disconnected, wondering why the respect you had or thought you had while you were in uniform didn't translate into the life you wanted. You're essentially limiting your opportunities when you choose intensity over influence. You've got to realize that staying in the mindset of command and control isn't a strategy. It's more than likely a defense mechanism, and it'll probably be less useful than you think when you transition. And there's another thing that you have to acknowledge. What you're calling leadership is probably just authority. And the shift for you starts when you realize that your intensity isn't a badge of honor. It's a static that's so loud it prevents people from hearing the actual value of what you're saying. If you want to be successful when you walk out of this gate, you don't need to lower your standards, but you do need to raise your standard of emotional intelligence. Think of it this way. As a veteran or first responder, our actions are intended to control the outcome and mitigate danger, because that's the most efficient way to limit risk. But in the civilian world, your objective is more about influencing the outcome. You're going to be moving from a world of do this because I said so to a world of how can we get this done together? This is an important reorientation. Your directness will no longer be as important of a tool, especially if it's perceived more as a weapon. Now, we like to think, and our careers definitely feed into this, that being direct is a form of honesty or accountability. We take pride in saying that I just tell it like it is. But that's really not an effective way to lead. It takes zero effort to be direct or blunt. However, it takes discipline to read a room, understand the personalities involved, and tailor how you deliver what you say so it actually gets through without burning bridges. This is so much more true around people who aren't cut from the same cloth we are. But again, this does not mean that they're not capable or that they don't care about their performance. You need to start seeing diplomacy not as being soft, but as a high-level skill set. Think of it like learning a new language. Imagine if you were in a foreign country and just kept saying things in English, probably louder with each time you said it. You wouldn't blame the locals for not understanding you. You'd eventually, and hopefully, realize you're the one who's failing to communicate. The civilian workplace is that foreign country, and diplomacy is the language. When you shift your perspective and realize that making others feel accepted and heard, and you're able to stop being a hammer, is actually a more effective way to get what you want. Remember, you won't be losing your edge. You'll actually be sharpening it. You need to learn how to achieve the same critical results without leaving a trail of intimidated and paranoid coworkers. Your goal should be to become a force multiplier that people seek out and want to work with. It's about recognizing that in a world outside of command and control, your only real power is your ability to make people want to follow you. And if they're only following you because they're afraid to say no, you haven't won. You're just speeding up your own failure. So changing how you think is the heavy lifting. But before we get into the specific transition group tips, let's take another quick break. There's a moment in life when you realize it was never about you. Grind, spelled G-R-N-D, is different. There's no I in it on purpose, because the mindset was never about ego. It's about the mission. Started by a former Army Ranger, it's not about where you are. It's about how you show up. Different lives, different pressures, but the same mindset. Grind isn't clothing you wear just to look good. It's a reminder of why you keep going when it gets tough, and you keep putting in the work when no one's watching. For the early mornings, the late nights, the reps that no one sees. This isn't just fashion, it's fuel. Because real work isn't loud, real effort doesn't need applause, and real purpose doesn't quit. Head on over to thegrndcollective.com and use the promo code TRANSITION15 for 15% off your order. So no matter how far out your transition is, right now is the perfect laboratory to start practicing your ability to go from tactical to diplomatic, because the goal is the same. You need to start dialing back the command and dialing up the influence. Close range group. If your transition is less than a year away, or maybe it's happening right now, learn to be asked to help other people with their problems. I know it's easier to be the one who jumps in and fixes things. But from now on, you need to stop trying to, or feeling the need to, solve all the problems, especially if you aren't invited to help. Are there going to be fires? Yes. Can you just put them out? Yes. But if the situation hasn't risen to an immediate safety issue, don't just jump in with the solution. Take a step back. Assess the people addressing the issue. Give them the space to try, to make mistakes, and to come up with the solution on their own. However, you still need to be there. You need to be their QRF, if they call for it. I know it's difficult to watch people handle situations slower or differently than you would, but you need to learn to suppress the I'm going to take over mentality. Your job right now isn't to handle everything. It's to learn how to wait to be of assistance without being a bulldozer. Medium range group. If you're 3 to 5 years out, your job is to learn a new language. And nice for you, there's one you're going to love. It even has an acronym, but I'm willing to bet you've probably never heard of it before. It's NVC, which is Wait for it. Nonviolent communication. I know, right? I'm sure that immediately hit you right in your feelings. It immediately made you feel good. But seriously, you need to just start translating your I'm telling into recommendations. Now, obviously, not when it's chaotic or it's a life-threatening situation. But yes, you need to change your habits. Instead of telling a subordinate or a peer, do it my way, what if you try something like, hey, I'm watching what's happening. I'm concerned we might miss the objective, and I want to know how we can get this addressed as a team. Now, I'm sure for some of you, you'd rather get a root canal than do this. But what you're doing is training your brain to decouple the problem from the person. You're practicing how to be the high standard without being high pressure. Long range group. If you're early in your career and you've got a decade or more before you walk out the gate for the last time, you need to operate in a peer feedback loop. Ideally, this will be with someone who doesn't report to you and you don't report to them. Find someone in a different unit, maybe even in a different organization. But most important, they need to be someone you can rely on and they can rely on you to call out the BS. You need to be each other's encouragement, but without the filter. You need to be able to ask each other and give each other honest feedback of your performance and your personality. Also, you need to get used to being told you're wrong or that you screwed it up, but without the stress of feeling like it's an actual formal evaluation. This is how you'll learn to differentiate yourself in this career and your next. And building these habits now is about being proactive instead of reactive. So if you're looking for more ways to stay ahead of that curve, I put out a weekly newsletter that dives deeper into these exact kind of things, giving you the tools and resources to help you plan for your transition. There's a link in the show notes. Go sign up after listening to this episode. As veterans and first responders, these careers have a way of convincing you that your intensity is your identity. You've been told, and you've told yourself, that being in charge is how to be effective. And in most situations we deal with, that is true. Command and control is the armor that gets you through the worst shifts and the longest deployments. But every mission ends. Eventually, the uniform goes into the back of the closet, and you're going to move into an environment where people don't care about your past war stories. They're only going to care about how you make them feel right now. Think about the people that you respect, the ones who didn't just do these careers. They seemed to transcend them. They had a presence that didn't require always raising their voice or berating people. They were the ones who could walk into a chaotic situation and bring the temperature down just by being there. You have to decide which version of yourself is going to walk out that door when your time is up. Is it going to be the person who's still trying to win every conversation because you don't know how to be any other way? Or is it going to be the leader who's disciplined enough to know when to put the hammer away and simply offer support? The shift from tactical to diplomatic isn't a surrender. It's the ultimate form of situational awareness. It's recognizing that the battlefield has changed and the old rules no longer apply. You can keep holding on to that intensity like a security blanket, or you can start looking at the people around you and ask yourself if they're seeing the leader you think you are, or if they're just waiting for you to leave the room so they can relax because you're no longer there. The choice is yours, but the clock is already running. Thanks for staying until the end. Staying all the way through helps the engagement ratings. Please send me your comments. Be honest with what you like or what I'm doing wrong. It's the only way that I can make changes to best benefit you. Also, if you would, please share the podcast with anyone who you think will enjoy it or benefit from it. And if you're not already, please give a follow to the Your Next Objective podcast, wherever you listen to or watch your episodes. Stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.